If you're receiving this transmission, this is Black Spire Broadcast.
All right, everybody, and welcome to Black Spire Broadcast. I am your host, David. It has been a wild week. We just finished up and wrapped up May the 4th at Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I'm sure you saw by now, but I was Chopper with the Rebels crew, and it was quite crazy, so we're going to have lots of content coming your way about that, but this is my first time behind the mic since then, and it is good to be back. Tonight we have a fun one, a company that you may or may not have heard of, but in the cosplay Star Wars leatherworking world, they're quite well known, and quite frankly, that's how I got to know Delta Leatherworks, is from the Star Wars cosplay community. So joining us all the way from across the pond over in Poland, we have Mike from Delta Leatherworks. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. Welcome. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I hear you're not feeling good, so I'm sorry in advance.
No, it's all fine.
Well, what time is it there in Poland, out of curiosity?
It's 3 past midnight exactly, so pretty early.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I should have just flown over, huh?
No. You know, because most of our clients are in US anyway, so my working hours are far past midnight just to reply to emails.
Wow.
So it's absolutely fine.
Well, you are dedicated to the craft. I can appreciate that.
Well, it's, when it's your job, it's your job.
No, fair enough, man. Well, I'm going to bring up your website so everybody can see it that is not familiar with it. And as I'm doing that, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about Delta Leatherworks and then where it comes from? Well,
it comes from cosplay, really. I never had experience with leather before I started cosplaying, really. And all started with my idea to join 501st. And, I haven't done much of research, and I thought, the best costume you can start with is Jango Fett, right? I love that costume. I love that cosplay. I love that character. He's my favorite. So with my father, we started making it before I was even 18. So when I was 18, finally, I was able to join 501st. But in this process, his leatherwork is maybe not complicated, but it really is something that stands out in the whole costume. And at a certain point, we just decided that there's no other way but make it in leather. And that was the beginning of the journey. And we just bought a piece of leather, put it together, and then people who knew us locally were asking, hey, can you make belt for Boba? Can you make belt for... I think the third one we made was pretty obscure character. Raf Brailer, I think is the name. She's the Mandalorian lady in red. It's a long time ago Legends character.
Wow.
Anyway, that's how it started. And so... so we were always leather, raising from cosplay and staying with cosplay.
And you find that is something you enjoy to this day? Because I see you guys started in 2014.
Yes, we started in 2014. Yeah, absolutely. I love creating things. I love making things. I love solving problems. So it's a perfect job for me. And I actually also enjoy the kind of business aspect of it. Not that it's, a great business, very complicated, but kind of sourcing things out, trying to develop certain things. It's fun.
Sure. And so were you always personally into leatherwork, or you learned through your inspiration of Jango Fett?
No, I was always into creating stuff, but, leatherwork was just an accident. It was something I had to pick up because there was no other source of it. We were making everything for Jango Fett on our own, outside of maybe a jumpsuit that Taylor made. So it was something that had to be sourced. And by then, in that time, There wasn't really that much leatherwork out there. I don't remember anyone selling really stuff like we do now. It was more like, there were Boba experts, there were Django experts, and they had certain parts. They were sourcing them for singular costumes. I don't really remember people mass producing stuff.
And then along came Delta Leatherworks.
Yes, it did.
Dude, that's awesome. So you filled a void, a gap, so to speak, in the cosplay market.
Yes, yes. Although I didn't knew it was that big of a gap back then, because the friend of mine who had Boba Fett Return of the Jedi setup, and he was kind of building it step by step, but he was cosplaying anyway. He was trooping anyway. He asked me, "Hey, would you be willing to make a belt for my Boba? You made a belt for your Django." And we had Django and Boba, and then I was around Mandalorian Mercs Costume Club forums and stuff like that, and I was like, "Hey, maybe someone's gonna be interested." And it just started there with people just possibly every item you see on our website now is there because someone asked us to make it.
Wow.
I don't think we ever made anything really, before anyone was really interested in it.
Right.
Maybe more recently with the TV shows, when you just know that Din Djarin will be popular character before you even know his name is Din Djarin, but that's pretty recent.
Man, that is so awesome! And looking at your website, first off, it looks 5-star, and it looks like you don't necessarily do just strictly commission-based work. It looks like you already have product that's made, that's ready to go, and to me, that kind of shows just the level of success that you're experiencing.
Well, yes and no. Everything you see on the website is, well, you can call it a product ready to go, but it is not. Every belt is custom made for a client because we want to make sure it's gonna fit well, it's gonna be correct size. And people have different, they want to change different details sometimes. There are Boba builders who after 75 years are finding new details. They want stitching in different shade because the true color is different than you see on the screen. So yeah, it's all it's all made to measure in reality. Although yeah, it is an item that you can technically buy. We will make it for you from ground up, really.
So what? So through previous orders, that kind of helped create your catalog, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have the various products that you have chosen on your website to purchase. Is that's because somebody has asked that for that product previously, or like your most popular thing, something along those lines?
Yes, yes. When we were starting, there were more custom sets, even some really crazy color combinations. But now we are boiling down to pretty essential stuff, and things that are canon, so to speak. We don't really go into custom work on our website. We accept custom orders. Whatever people need, we are willing to take a job at it. But we don't really show any custom works at this point. So yeah, someone asked about, can you make me that belt? Can you make that belt? And it just built up.
Sure. And now, if you have a favorite piece to work on when those orders come in, what might it be?
Ooh, when it comes to visuals, how it looks, how it works, I really do love Bo-Katan set, the live action Bo-Katan. I think it's a really good design. It works well. Because not every design works well when it's made for TV. And the thing is, right, we have to build something that lasts. That's what I want to our products to be. We want them to last. We don't want them to be one-time use. And with
Right.
TV industry or movie industry, it can be very much one-time use thing.
Hmm.
But when it comes to my favorites to make, I don't know. I think boba belts, we made them so many that it's almost like you make it with your eyes closed. It's
Right. I have
just
no doubt.
simple. It's just like the comfort thing to make.
Yeah.
But everything is, everything is fine. It's not that I don't like making something. I couldn't say
And
that.
but you would say that you are definitely passionate about leatherworking, even outside of Star Wars. It seems like something that you must enjoy, right?
Yes, yes. I kind of dive into that world because once you have certain skills and some tools, in many ways, world is your oyster. You can make wallets, you can make bags, handbags, and I'm sometimes making that stuff, but mostly for myself. I don't really sell much of things that are not cosplay related.
And now, would you ever consider diving out of the cosplay world and into, more of like a civilian market that's separate from Star Wars, or no?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to even as separate brand. But it's not easy. I tried a few
Of course not.
times with different things, like business cards, pouches, kind of wallets. It's hard to describe it, but I was trying to do something with that, and it's not that easy to using the Delta Leatherworks Instagram, which we are watching now, or our
Hmm.
website. Now it's so much cosplay oriented that it's really hard to burst out of this. And also there's a lot of people who are making those wallets or those handbags and stuff like that.
Sure,
That
sure.
market is coming back, and we are talking about handmade by small workshops, not designer bags, right? Because
Right.
these are two different things, really.
Hmm. Now, with that being said, let's I don't know. I'll take a boba belt for instance. From start to finish, about how long does it take to produce one boba belt?
Okay, so there are two timelines, let's say.
Okay.
There are work hours, and there is a time that the project needs to take, because we source leather ourselves, and it's basically raw leather. um,
And what
it's
does
it
that
doesn't
mean
have
for people like me?
well, it doesn't have any color. It's basically the how to put it. It's leather
Like,
that is as raw as it can be to be a material that is being sold, if that makes sense.
okay, okay.
It's
So
like
yeah, no, I
buying
get it.
it's like buying planks of wood, without any
Okay,
varnish, anything like that.
like blank paper.
Yes, exactly, like blank paper. And now we have to cut the parts out, then we dye them, and that paint or dye has to dry, so it takes some time. Then we have to shine, use the shining compound, and that takes some time. So boba belt, it doesn't matter if it's 7 or 8 pouches. It will take about 2-3 days to make, including the drying times. Let's put it that way.
Sure. So
but
so
but with work
um,
hours, you can really, if you need to, maybe 2 days. It's not that much
you
of
can
work.
push it if you need to.
Yes, yes.
Now, and obviously, we're looking at a video here for the people that are listening on audio. Your process is your secret, but I can kind of picture what you're doing and what you just mentioned with the dyeing and then the dry time, and from there, is it kind of molding and shaping and cutting?
It starts with cutting and molding. There are not many things that we mold, but a lot of things you have to mold. For example, we are watching now a few holsters. There are holsters for Bo-Katan and Django holsters, and they are all molded when they are dry. Sorry, when they are wet,
Hmm.
and then they are dry on bags to get that shape. Um, yeah, so That's the part where we're molding them, and then we paint the dry stuff. But the pouches will be cut out first. The parts will be cut out first. Probably they will be painted first, later, second. Okay, so cut first, painted, shined, and put together, right? Because they are in parts basically.
And with the stitching, I don't know what to call it. I guess I would say like almost accessory stitching. That I don't know if you can see my cursor, but
yes, I can see.
And is that added in after that step?
Yes, it can. It's in this case, it's added before we put the pouch together. So it's painted, it's shined, but it's not, folded on its not on its own, but folded together to be in 3D. So it's still on a flat surface. Mm-hmm. Then it's stitched, and this stitching is it's actually decorative in our case, but in the showcase it's something that they had to use because of the leather they are using. They are using different kind of leather than we are.
Right, like in a canon sense.
Well, yeah, it's different. I think it may be even goat leather. I'm not sure because we are using
I see what you're saying. The material is different on set as opposed to what you're producing.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I understand what you're saying now. I thought you meant like in Star Wars universe it came from some animal that doesn't exist in real life.
No.
Although, probably, but
yeah, probably yes. There is an animal, right? That's like they were making steaks of it. I remember in old books they were talking about. Anyway, yeah, but if there is, the new Mandalorians are using terrible leather.
You have complaints. You have complaints. I want to hear them.
Well, they're not complaints. It's the case of when you're working with leather, right? And I was joking about something that I just look at the waists of everyone in the TV show, right? When I'm watching show, I don't look at the faces; I look at their belts.
The waist.
And I just know how certain things can be done, and I see certain things how are they done in the show, right? Mm-hmm. So the Din Djarin's bandolier is a great example because it's made out of very thin leather. I don't know if it's a young animal, like young cow or a goat, but you can see in that picture, for those who are listening to us, if you look very closely below the cartridges he has on his bandolier, you can see a shadow of a strap that goes underneath there. It's a tiny thing, but you can see, there's cursors. If you go down, you can see there's something underneath the leather. And that's probably the strap that's holding the tension of the bandolier, the weight of it.
Makes sense. Yep.
Because the leather itself is not thick enough to do it.
What a good eye. Wow.
Yeah, well, you have to have a good eye to work in this business. Yeah, so it's basically what they've done and why they done it, I can imagine. It's a very thin leather. It's something that you would use for a jacket or maybe a wallet. And that means you can treat it like material. You can sew it on a sewing machine, normal sewing machine. So the prop department had to do it on their own without help of anyone who works with leather.
Wow.
Or someone who works with leather that's like a jacket, but not, like military belts or something like that.
Like true leather work, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and we're thinking, and now that I'm looking at it and actually studying it with your eye, potentially, probably nowhere near as good as yours, but kind of like your eye, this appears to almost be like a buckle that this thing was going through that was just painted to match the leather, and that's how you kind of cinch it down.
That I'm not sure about, because the loops for the ammo are they are stitched as well, I think, or pressed. I don't remember exactly now, but it seems to be the same leather material that is used for the rest of the bandolier. So it's something that just runs underneath the bandolier, I assume. but we can
But
see it here. I
yeah.
even even yeah, I was making a joke here for those who are watching. Uh, what are pouches? Because he just grabs the disc with the holographic message that the what's the name of the planet? The Navarro needs help, and he
Hmm.
just jams it behind his belt like he doesn't have anyone any place to put it in. It's just,
It's like,
it's again something that, like he has this tiny pouch next to his buckle, right? It's like
right,
half cylindrical
right,
thing. No one knows what is it for. He never uses it for anything.
right,
It's also
right.
kind of joke running with it.
In your community, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are all probably calling them a bunch of pretenders.
No, not really.
But it
It's
is funny that you can notice these types of details, because that is astonishing that I didn't even see that before. But now I can clearly see that this piece is raised, and there's odds are there's something under there, something for tension. That makes sense.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah. But
I would never notice that.
I assume people don't notice that, right? Because they
No.
watch the show for whatever, and I just
Hmm.
can no longer watch the show for the plot. Really, um, I was like, stop. Let's see what's there.
Right,
Okay,
right.
let's go.
But that's
But
awesome.
yeah,
I mean, and that's why I think it's so fascinating to bring on guests that have these various backgrounds. I'm talking to you, who's done and currently does leather work. I've talked to special effects artists. I've talked to actors. I've talked to a wide variety of backgrounds that give me a vantage point on a topic that I've never seen before. So it's so cool.
yeah. I mean, I not to say grew up necessarily, but kind of this community. Um, the when you're around Boba Fett builders, they're always finding something new. From
Hmm.
Empire Strikes Back, they are still finding new spots of damage, new spots of paint, and it's incredible. How precise can you be? It's
Right, right.
almost. I remember when we were starting, and this is another nerd's knowledge. Um, the Boba Fett belt for the Empire Strikes Back had 3 snaps. It doesn't maybe mean anything to people who are listening to this, but anyway, they
Or
decided
maybe
that,
it does.
or maybe it does, that finally it only has 2 because the third one is the under his left arm technically, and you can't really see it that much. And so after 70 years, someone found out that no, there is no third snap. Like
That's
after 70 years or
crazy. Yeah.
whatever it is, so when you are around those people, it's like, and I know I'm not perfect making this stuff, and there are some
Hmm.
compromises you have to make, um, which I accept. I think you have to, um, you kind of have to have your own style. Maybe you will have your own touch to the things, and I know there are people who can replicate stuff to the tiniest details.
Oh,
um,
absolutely. And I had a guest on recently, Sean Miller. He's with the 501st. He's a Boba Fett, and
yeah,
we had this same conversation. He's striving to get the highest certification level in the
yeah,
501st as his Boba Fett, and we spent an hour having that same conversation about those fine details that are hidden in the art photos and the behind the scenes photos on the set and things like that. That's just never been seen before.
yes, absolutely. And you can see them, using patterns for all the damage and all that. And
Hmm.
it's fascinating that you can be so precise. But also, the question arises, do you want to be that precise? And again, we are on the picture where you can see Dean's Jarin bandolier, and you can see that strap that we talked about. Do you want to have that perfection? Do you want it to be screen accurate? Or do you want to be accurate to the spirit of the character, if I may say so?
Right. I think that's for me that's more important.
Yes, because for example, I recently, before the celebration, one of my friends, he has our Super Trooper Boba, the white belt, and
Hmm.
he was preparing his Super Trooper for celebration, and he posted a picture of a holster, because Super Trooper has different sidearm. It's a modified Uzi
Mm.
submachine gun in reality. And what they did on the prop makers, what they did, they used like a black duct tape and some crazy. It just looks like garbage. It just holds the gun for the pictures, right?
Mhm.
And he made exact copy of it. And I told him, like, listen, this is amazing. You know, that holster looks like garbage. It's perfect. Now the question is, do people? And even he said this. You know, I wonder how many people on the con will look at that holster and ask, you know, why he done that, and how many will look and, oh yeah, that's the accurate, you know, garbage holster they made.
It's screen accurate trash, man.
Yeah, and that's the question, right? Do you want to have screen accurate trash, or do you want something that is in the spirit of what that trash was supposed to be?
Right, and it depends on who you talk to, right? Because this is a whole conversation. Again, another show. I was on the Spice Runners recently. We had a whole conversation on lineage and like EFX helmets and various things like that. Regal Robot and going on about how much does lineage mean and defining lineage. And again, that's the same thing. You're trying to replicate a costume and have the lineage to it. And if you can do it better and you choose not to, it's like, well, why'd you do that? It's up to you, obviously. But does it matter or does it matter or not?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, and I have my Django on mannequin behind me, and it's far from perfect, right? But I know when I was trooping in it, most people were calling me Blue Boba Fett or Power Ranger. So let's say we are in more specialized environment, and people know exactly who Django Fett is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do they really know every detail without looking at reference pictures?
Right. Odds are no. No way.
Yes. So for me, the answer always will be, if it looks good on the costume, if it presents itself well, then that's what you should strive for. Because
I agree.
You know, you can be perfect with your costume, and you know, if you are, hats off to you. Like, I have the greatest respect for people who are striving for that, you know, super precise costume. But sometimes there are choices that, you know, no one will appreciate except you, and maybe
Absolutely.
they will even look at it and think like, well, why is it not perfect, right? Why is it
right? No, and I totally agree, and that's something that, you know, I'm an aspiring Mandalorian merc myself, and I'm actually working on that costume that's up on the wall there. And
I even
it's one
see
of
a
those
belt
things
hanging behind you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to you because you're probably gonna tell me it's trash here in about 2 minutes, but that's okay.
No, I will tell you off the
Just tell me it's better than Din Djarin's. Okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not a high bar.
See, I love it, and it's on a wall in kind of a dark picture, and you could still tell me, "Hey, it's not that good. It's not that good."
No, okay. I don't see that well. I just
blow me up. You could. It's hard to tell back there.
I can just see it's very reminiscent of Django.
It's an old. It's a boba. It's supposed to be a boba. I didn't make it, obviously, but
okay, I see. Oh, it's chunky.
Yeah, odds are I'll be hitting up your website here in the future.
Yeah. No, contact me directly. We'll make something special.
I will. And I want to do I want to do something that's what I want to do, something special that's not necessarily canon, because you know what's cool about the mercs is you can kind of create your own story, your own character. So
I was a part of unique, you know? MMCC.
Oh, currently?
No, I used to be. I used to be 501st and MMCC. Just my paths with trooping kind of parted for many reasons. One of them being when you have to make belts for other people, you don't have time to make costumes for yourself.
I get it. Oh, no, I get it. That's for sure. Well, I want to get into the nitty gritty, and the people that are here, they're obviously diehard Star Wars fans, and that's what's fun for me is to talk the wars. So it's funny when you're like, hey, do people know who Jango Fett is in this? Oh, definitely. Everybody listening to us, man, I promise you, they know who Jango Fett is. At least I hope
here for sure. But you know, on the call,
and really, yeah, you have no idea, dude. You have no idea. That's true. So since we just wrapped up season 3 of The Mandalorian, I wanted to get your thoughts on it, man.
Oh, you had to ask that question, did you?
I do, because I know that it's not going to be 100% favorable. I just have a feeling.
Well, you know, okay. So let's split it, right? Let's split it in 2 parts. My prop maker eye, if we can call it like that, and my personal ideas of the show, right? So when it comes to the props, it's good. I was really impressed by most costumes. I love the Super Commando design.
Oh my gosh, you're telling
Um,
me.
yeah, it's just one of the things I love about it. And for those who are listening, we have Super Commando on the screen. I don't know, are they called Super Commandos? No, they're not called Super Commandos here, right?
No, I don't know about formally. I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. So from the Rebels, the name Super Commando.
Or that's how
I
we know
love.
it.
Yes, that's how we know it. I love it because it looks so comfortable as a cosplay.
It does. Like it. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and that's part of, you learn it on your sweat, by your sweat and your tears when you're wearing uncomfortable cosplay. Yeah, so when it comes to costumes, yeah, the Super Trooper is great. I don't necessarily love Gideon. I think he's like
Yeah.
emo Darth Vader, but not really there. I mean,
With
you can
with
like
some
him.
Darth Maul sprinkled in, like it was a little bit
Yeah,
of everything.
yeah,
I was hoping that they would play on the Mandalorians a little bit, and they didn't. Like,
yes,
why else did that? Why else were there horns? That's silly.
yes. But it's
You
just
know.
a history thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I don't really, well, I don't want to say I don't enjoy it, but you know, as we are here, Star Wars fans, probably everyone watched, Clone Wars, Rebels, and then The Mandalorian. But for so many people, the horns means nothing. And it's like, oh,
True.
she has horns, he has horns. And you don't know, it's just like historical event in the lore, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
could be shown up. I so we are getting into what I think about season 3. I think they some time was lost and they could use it in much better way. Uh, they could bring some things up, show more. I think it's definitely a Bo-Katan season. It's not necessarily
Agreed.
Dean's season. And I really like Bo-Katan. I love her as a character. Knowing that she was, I don't know what she was, 16, 17 when she joined a terrorist group, and then it
Right.
ends here, right, reclaiming the throne. Like, it's a great story. Why don't we really see it in this show? Because there are people who talk about this show, and I sometimes listen to them. People who are not exactly into Star Wars, and they just met her in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't look at her not knowing who she is. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, but there are people who don't know who she is.
No, there's people that are just meeting her for the first time, as you said.
Yes, and the question is how she defends herself in that show, just in that show, right? I think the Bo-Katan is one of the best characters in the show at all. So I think she's fine, but the rest of the lore is really sprinkled for hardcore fans almost.
Yeah, they could have went heavier on the lore, I think. They played it a little bit, and we saw places that I was happy to see, but I really thought they could have sprinkled on the lore a little more. They gave us some, but I guess you have to look at it from the truth, which is that not everybody's as diehard as you and I might be, Mike. We're kind of oddballs in the world, and
Yeah,
most people that watch these series are not you and I, and they have no idea what's going on, and they're being introduced to Mandalore for the first time, so they bring it on softly, I guess.
yeah,
Which is sad because I want more, but
yeah, I would like more. And actually, when I saw Mandalorians first in this season, the cave Mandalorians, as I like to call them, I was a bit disappointed. But then we saw the privateers, as they call them. Griff Karga calls them, and I love that name, Mandalorian privateers.
Yeah.
And their design and the prop department approach to them is genius. You are taking 2 or 3 different parts, like 2 different chest pieces, 2 different shoulder pieces, 2 different helmets, and you mix and match in the same color wheel, of grays, blues, and silvers, and they look amazing. Like, the privateers look really great, and I love the idea that you can make your own privateer that's totally custom character.
Right,
But
and you are
you
giving the
and you're
Mandalorian mercs a stroke because they're going to have to start approving everything.
well, yeah, that's true. But like, you don't have to be super precise, and you can be one of the privateers, and like people will know it a little bit more. You know, you're not
Right,
exactly like Mandalorian merc, random guy.
right. No, and there is obviously a stark contrast between the privateers and the children of the watch, whatever you want to call it, the cave dwellers. The color schemes seem to be obviously different. I mean, we're looking at the cave dwellers now, and with the exception of Vizsla, it's a mishmash. I mean, all the colors are just like, I don't know. I think
Yeah,
they had the spirit of Boba in mind when they designed these characters, and they're like, just throw colors on there, you know?
definitely. And I think I think a lot of inspiration for them had to come from Mandalorian mercs. Like, I
I
look at
think
these
you're right.
guys, and I just see Mandalorian mercs, and I'm not saying this in negative way. I'm
Right.
just saying there is someone, right, who has exactly that set of armor, and he made it like 5 years ago.
Odds are,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, and I know what they're aiming for, right? They are aiming for like ragtag group of people who are just together.
Right.
But like with the privateers, you can see, like, yeah, not everyone is the same. They are not like clone army, all in white. There's individuality, but like they work together. They could recognize themselves on the battlefield, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
With the children of the watch, it's like, yeah, they are together, but like, I don't know. Which, it's for the show what it is. I think they did a great job to have all
I
those
agree.
characters there, right? So it's
I
nitpicking
It is,
fun.
but right, but it's fun to nitpick a little bit because I wouldn't even call it nitpicking. I think they had to separate the two clans, or you know what I mean? It's bigger
Yeah,
than that. The two schools of thought, the two methodologies, the two beliefs, religions, if you want to call it that. You had to make them obviously have a stark contrast, and there's no better way than visually with what they look like. So they did a great job with that.
yeah, and I think it's even better than the Clone Wars when they had blue versus red, right?
Right.
It's blue against just colorful bunch. It's
Like,
more creative than just two
I agree.
colors.
I agree, and I think that the Children of the Watch. I think the idea with them is they're just like happy to have armor. Like, hey, we found some Durasteel. Let's paint it green. Okay, cool. We'll do that.
Well,
And
but
Beskar is hard to come by for them too. So
well, that's the question, right? Because they have the armorer.
Yeah,
And I don't.
but it looks like in my opinion, I thought Beskar was hard to come by for them because they made every single time that somebody brought some Beskar in there, which wasn't that often. Obviously, it was mostly Din and Bo once. It was a big deal, right? They're like, oh man, new piece, let's forge this thing up, and then it was not painted immediately. Actually, I don't think they were ever painted, right?
Yeah, but then Grogu has everything made out of Beskar, like it's laying around.
That's
I don't
true. That's
know.
true.
I
That's
you know
true.
that's the thing, because I don't know anymore who wears Beskar, who doesn't. Like, all the
No.
super commandos do wear Beskar, right? They have Beskar armor.
Right, and I think they say it's an alloy, so obviously it's not pure Beskar.
Yeah.
And I think that would explain why they died so easily. But
Well, you just stab them in the neck. It's simple as that.
yeah,
But
right. Yeah, I thought Gideon said that it was Beskar alloy, so it wasn't pure. So I don't think they had
yeah,
access to the pure stuff like that. Some of the man. I don't know. It gets confusing, right? There's a lot of
yeah.
this is
It's
the nerd
confusing
stuff right here, but
from a long time ago, because I remember, when I was making my Django and I was researching that, I was diving deep into the lore. There was always question: is Django's armor, is it really Beskar? Because it was
right,
known by then is that the Beskar is a thing, but is his armor Beskar, or is it Durasteel, or is it whatever?
right.
Is Boba armor the Django's armor, or is it different, or So there was always questions about that. And I don't know, well, again,
But it's fascinating because it's go back to the Clone Wars episode where Boba tries to kill what was it, Anakin and Mace Windu, or Obi-Wan and Mace
oh
Windu? I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember. And he detonates his helmet, and it's like, well, they're clearly not the same helmet then.
Yeah, which I don't know. Would you? Mm,
It's hard to say. It's canon, right? This is
yeah,
super
well, yeah.
nerd
I
talk,
was
everybody, obviously, but
yeah, I was thinking about, would you detonate your father's helmet?
I don't
Exactly.
know if I wanted to
That's
kill Mace Windu so bad. I might think about it.
yeah. Well, yeah. Boba is that kind of guy. You would think.
Oh
Well, he
yeah,
was that
yeah.
kind of guy.
Right. I don't know. It could have been. He could have made another one in his honor and been wearing it. Who knows? But yeah, good point. I don't know. And I think that came from George Lucas himself. He actually was the one that pitched the idea of blowing up the helmet in the Clone Wars. So interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask you because we're low on time. But I want to ask you, what is your two questions? What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Ooh, that's hard. That's
Good.
hard.
That's why I ask it.
Okay, so we have to. Well, I'm not in rush, so if you are not, we can
No,
we
you're
can
good.
chat.
I'm
Uh,
aiming for 45 minutes is my goal. So
yeah,
we got
okay.
about
So
five 6 minutes.
I will try to be short. So I the first movie, Star Wars movie I saw in cinema was Attack of the Clones.
Okay,
So it has sentimental value for me,
of
and
course.
you may, guess that Jango Fett being my favorite character, it's definitely up there. But I have to agree with most people that Empire Strikes Back is probably the best film, as in cinema piece, out of all of them.
I think I agree with you, and I do love. So for me, and that's telling of your age slightly. I'm going to go with you. Might be just slightly younger than me. I'm about to turn 30, so you're probably what 27, 28, somewhere in that range.
No, I'm close. I was born in '93, but
Oh,
in
well, we're about the
December.
same
So
age. Oh,
yeah,
so I'm September. Wow, we're like really close.
yeah.
So the first one I saw Phantom Menace in theaters. I don't necessarily remember like sitting there watching the Phantom Menace, but I remember going up to my movie theater, and you know how they have the title outside on the big letters in black, and I remember Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and I vividly recall that. And for
Yeah,
the same reason that you said that one holds sentimental value, so will the Phantom Menace for me. And but I agree, Empire is probably
yeah,
the most cinematically quality made movie.
yeah. Because I also the first movie I saw also was Phantom Menace,
Hmm.
but and that started my journey.
Hmm.
Then I watched 4, 5, and 6. But yeah, the first in cinema, Clone Wars. Clone Wars. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Attack of the Clones. It's
Attack
just,
of the Clones.
and people can rag on the prequels all they want, but I grew up with them, and so did you, and I fell in love with. That's why I fell in love with Star Wars. Just so
Yeah,
much fun,
absolutely.
so much fun. All right, and part two to the question, and this is very difficult. So you can break it into categories like I like
Okay.
to do. Who is your favorite character?
Yeah, that's simple. Jango Fett.
Wow, you actually can just rattle off one. I can't. I cannot.
Well, okay, so it's not that I can.
I have to be like, okay, favorite Jedi, favorite Sith, favorite Mandalorian, favorite.
Yeah, okay, if we dive into that, then sure, it's just, that guy stands in my room all the time. So,
Right, right.
and the whole journey started with him, so it's hard to say anyone else. I don't necessarily like Jedi in general.
Wow.
I'm,
You're the
I'm totally
first.
into, like, I love the idea of, the Clone Wars, the clones. I have the RC 1138, also known as Boss, the Republic Commando helmet on
Hmm.
my desk. I just love that side of the universe. No
Yeah.
wizardry, no swords, just gritty combat, bounty hunters, stuff like that. Um, yeah. So I would say favorite Jedi probably Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Sure, sure. Solid choice.
Uh, when it comes to Sith, it's hard to beat Vader.
I know.
Like
I
he's so
agree.
iconic. Um,
If they could make
if
the old Republic become more canon, like a lot of those Sith, they might take the cake for me.
Yeah, they could. The old Sith, like the really powerful guys. Yeah,
Cool stuff. That's for sure.
yeah. What else? The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
favorite
the
Mandalorian.
Django. If we count him to be a Mandalorian,
He
because
is okay. So in as you know the lore, and I know the lore too. He is a Mandalorian. If you ask people that just watch the movies, they debate that. But look, there's tons of videos on that. I don't got to go into that. But he's a
yeah,
Mandalorian, and so is
yeah.
Boba.
Well, according to all lore, he was born on Concord Dawn, so the same
Right.
planet that Din Djarin comes from, right?
Correct.
And I don't know why Din Djarin is. They don't accept him as the real Mandalorian. I don't know
Right.
since when the Mandalorians had to be born on Mandalore, but yeah, we are diving again.
We're in the lore, man. The lore is what makes Star Wars so much fun. But all right. So my final question for you is: of the projects that we know about that are coming up, whether it be feature film or series, what are you most excited about?
Ooh, you know, I don't, because of my work. I'm always a little bit in the past than in the future. Like I'm currently I'm trying to scramble as much information as I can on the Ahsoka show. Mostly Sabine is of interest. Let's say it like this. So yeah, I think that one, just because it's in the nearest future. But outside of that, I don't. Remind me what's because there's one movie about the Mandalorian, right? It's gonna wrap up the
So
series.
it's supposed to be Dave Filoni's film. They don't have a date. I'm going with it's probably like 2027, but yeah, it's supposed to wrap up the Mandoverse.
Yeah, so out of all of this, I guess that one, but let's see how the show rolls, because the question is what season 4 will bring.
Right.
Because I don't really see the story ahead of Din, unless we are back to bounty hunting,
which I hope for. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, everyone hopes for that.
So he forgot about that several seasons ago.
Yeah.
Which is sad. I mean, I do love the show, but man, that first season was fantastic.
Yeah, and if you look at the behind the scenes, the original designs, the Din Djarin was heavily inspired by Boba 1313.
Yeah. And I wish that game did not get canceled, because it looks so cool.
That's the game everyone wished wasn't canceled.
I know, so cool.
And I think the origin of the Mandalorian was different. I think it was, it's probably intertwined with Boba Fett movie that we didn't get.
Right.
And maybe with Boba show. I think he was supposed to be Boba, but again, who knows?
I think you're right, man, because Boba got done dirty. I wasn't pleased with that show. I wasn't a fan. And I wish that even Tim Morrison came out and said that he got gypped, basically. But
yeah,
it's sad. I want badass Boba back. I do.
Yeah,
everybody does.
For the amazing thing, right? And this is, maybe we will close out with this. Me being into the cosplay and costumes.
Yeah,
we are talking about Mandalorians, right? And they originated from Boba, clearly. And Boba
absolutely.
was a guy who had 3 lines in a movie.
Right.
He was just so stunning, visually stunning, because basically the looks did the thing, right? There was nothing else there. There even wasn't that much of an action about him. Like, he shot 3 times, 4 times, doesn't matter. He just stands there and looks cool. And it all started there with a perfect design of a character.
And here we are. All these years later.
Yep.
It's crazy, man. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think that is a wonderful ending note, because it is the spirit of Star Wars. That right there just kind of sums up what Star Wars is for people. It's just something that's memorable, that can be passed down through the generations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lifestyle. It's like it has a character. When you see something Star Wars, it's Star Wars. You want
right? Absolutely. It has a look. A look, man. That's for sure. Well, Mike, where can people find you?
Well, mostly on Instagram. That's where because I'm glued to my phone, as most people nowadays. You can reach me there quickly, and it's Delta Leatherworks with full stops in between every word, and on our website, deltaleatherworks.com. And that's all you need to find me.
Awesome, man. Well, seriously, brother, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know it's early or late, depends on how you want to look at it, and you're not feeling that well. So seriously, appreciate it.
I'm just warming up. It was a pleasure.
Dude, likewise. And as always, may the Force be with you, always.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. wherever you're listening. Make sure you leave a review. It helps grow the channel. Thank our sponsors and thank Vader Sabers. Use code BlackSpire at checkout. Save 5% off your next custom lightsaber. And GalacticArmor.net. If you're in the market for some 3D custom printed armor, head over there. Use code BlackSpire. Save 10% at checkout. Seriously, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it.